We use language all day, every day, but we almost never stop to think about the incredible hidden system that's running in the background. It's what lets us text our friends, chat with our family, and just communicate, all without a second thought. So in this explainer, we're going to pull back the curtain and really figure out how it all works. All right, so let's kick things off with a bit of a mystery. I could say something to you right now, a sentence that's almost certainly never been spoken before in all of human history, and you would understand it perfectly. How is that even possible? How can we take a limited set of words and create and understand a literally infinite number of new ideas?
So how do we solve it? Well, we're going to have to put on our detective hats. We'll look at the evidence, the words and sentences we all use to uncover the secret rules that make language tick. This is basically an investigation into the very architecture of thought itself. Pretty cool, right?
Okay, so every good investigation starts with the evidence, right? For us, that means we're starting with the words themselves. Every single word is a clue, and if we crack them open, we can see exactly how they're put together. So the first tool in our detective kit is something called a morpheme. Now, this isn't just a letter or a sound. A morpheme is the absolute smallest piece of a word that still carries its own meaning. Think of them as the Lego bricks of language. Let's break this down with a real-world example. Take the word unhappiness. Now, at first glance, it's just one word, but if we look closer, it's actually three morphemes all snapped together. You've got un, which means not, you've got the root word, happy, and you've got ness, which is a little piece that turns the whole thing into an idea, a noun. Three tiny parts create one big complex feeling. And this is actually the most common way we build new words, by using what linguists call affixes. We slap prefixes onto the beginning of a word to change its meaning, like unhappy. And we add suffixes to the end, which often changes the word's job in a sentence, like turning quick into quickly. But, language isn't always so formal. It can be super playful. In casual English, we even have things called infixes, where we jam a morpheme right into the middle of another word. The classic example? Unfreaking believable. That freaking is an infix. It just goes to show how flexible and creative these hidden rules can be. All right, so we've got our building blocks, the morphemes. But that's just one piece of the puzzle. Now we need the blueprint, right? The instructions for how to actually assemble all these pieces into something that makes sense.
And that blueprint, it's called syntax. Now, syntax isn't about what your English teacher told you was correct. It's the deep, unconscious logic that tells us how to string words together to make meaning. It's the hidden grammar engine running in our brains that separates a clear thought from just a jumble of words. And trust me, word order is everything. John ate an apple. Simple, clear, we all get it. But if you just flip two of those words, an apple ate John, suddenly you've got the exact same building blocks, but a completely different and, let's be honest, pretty terrifying situation for John. Okay, now this is where things get really, really wild. Take a phrase like small business owners. Seems straightforward, but it can mean two totally different things. Is it business owners who happen to be small, or is it people who own businesses that are small? The words on the page are identical, but our brains can build two completely different structures, creating two different meanings. So, what's the big takeaway here? It's like grammar is all about teamwork. It's not just one system. You need the building blocks, the morphemes, and you need the blueprint, the syntax. They have to work together perfectly to create meaning. Check this out. See the S on sleeps? That little morpheme is there because the syntax of the sentence tells us the subject, the cat, is singular. But look at the S on cats. That morpheme is there to tell us the subject is plural. The word endings have to agree with the sentence structure. That's morphology and syntax working hand in glove. Okay, so we've looked at words up close, and we've seen how sentences are built. But now we've got to zoom out, because language doesn't just happen in a textbook, right? It's out there in the real world, used by real people. And that social context changes everything. And this is where semantics comes into play, the actual study of meaning. It's the bridge between our perfectly built sentences and the messy real world. And here's the kicker. That meaning is always, always shaped by our social environment. I mean, think about it. Language is like a living, breathing organism. It changes and evolves depending on everything. Where you're from, who you hang out with, how old you are, your cultural background, all of it shapes the way you talk. And all of these variations are totally natural and have their own internal logic. And this brings us to a super important point, something every language detective has to get.
These different ways of speaking, what we call dialects, they are not mistakes. They're complete rule-governed language systems. They aren't bad grammar, they're just different grammar. Okay, so we've gathered all the clues. We've cracked the codes. What's the final verdict? What's the solution to that big mystery we started with? How we can understand and produce an infinite number of sentences? The answer is, language is a code, but it's a special kind of code. It's highly structured, it's incredibly systematic, but most importantly, it's creative. The rules aren't there to limit us, they're there to give us a launchpad to create a totally infinite universe of new meanings. So, let's just quickly recap our detective work, shall we? We've discovered that language has a secret set of rules. We know that words are built from morphemes and that we arrange those words using a blueprint called syntax. And maybe the biggest clue of all is that this incredible system seems to be a mirror, a direct reflection of how the human mind itself structures reality. And that just leaves us with one last massive question to chew on. The fact that every single human language on Earth, no matter how different it sounds, is built on this foundation of rule-governed creativity, that's just mind-blowing. If this amazing system is universal to all of us, what does that tell us about the very blueprint of the human mind itself? Something to think about.